a support portal as well. And then additionally, we have something called an idea portal, which gives you, the clients, a resource to add in new features and functionality. It's more of an upvote factor to it that, that allows you to have some input there. The other way to get product enhancements into the product is to be a part of different sorts of CAB groups, customer advisory boards. We have a couple of different ones that allow direct contact with our development team to influence that product roadmap to make sure we're heading in the correct direction. Trimble knows a lot about construction, a lot about project management, but you know, as the world's changing quickly with technology, we want to make sure that we get input from our clients, and the customer advisory boards is a great way to directly influence the product. The last thing I want to show you here on the homepage is our different modules and how you can access them. Right, they're listed here on the left-hand side. You can also access them through this menu here on the pop-out. But what we're going to start with is our drawings. Right, so we're going to talk about how those drawings are shared out to the various team members. We do have a drawing sets area, which is where you can upload the drawings, and it allows for OCR technology to read that drawing, to pull out different information, different metadata, to organize them in a proper way, so that you can then share them out to your team. Specifications as well. We have, this is somewhat of a newer module for us in the last, I guess, 3 or 4 months, but that is similar to the drawings in that you load in your specification sets, and the system can break out those individual specifications to then link to other records, or edit them however you would want, mark them up as needed. Budget and cost is the last thing we're going to show you today, but it's included these different types of records. So you can manage your full project budget from inside ProjectSight. You've got your contract management piece, cash flow, purchase orders, and then we've got our change management, right, which is made up of these 4 modules. So in our system, everything starts with a potential change order. That change order can be turned into a subcontract or a prime contract, and then we also have a change order request for bulk approval of potential change orders. We can track contract invoices, expenses, and then we also have an applications to payment area. Now, doc control is made up of these different items. We have action items, issues, meeting minutes, RFIs, and submittals. Those are kind of the main areas here. Now, document control might mean a little bit something different to different types of people, right? But in our product, it's really focused on these specific record types. Right? We certainly have a document control area to store documents. That's our file library and our Trimble Connect piece. But when we're referring to document control in ProjectSight, it's focused on these specific records. Field management is made up of checklists, dailies, field observations, notices to comply, punch, and safety. Right? Some of the big ones are our checklist, which is a checklist in a form system. You can create different types of forms to capture information. And then, of course, the dailies are heavily used. Now, our file library is a place to store project-related files. Right? Today, that's where that lives. Here in the future, it's going to live within Trimble Connect, which is a document storage. It's really Trimble's document storage, and it has a 3D model viewer as well. So you can upload your models into here and share them out as needed throughout your team. Right? So it really provides that access to the models out in the field for anybody. And then when accessing and linking to ProjectSight, it gives you even more control over information and how to solve a specific RFI, for example, if you can pin it to a section of the model for reference. Are there any questions before we dig into the drawing side? Anthony, I'll ask you that.
Yeah, Jimmy, we actually have 2 questions. So the first one is, am I able to set up a limited view for subcontractors?
Yep, correct. Yeah, and I'll just point out this area here while we're talking about that. So I went into our settings area, and this is where you manage those users, and then also those different security roles. There's a number of them in here in this demo environment, but you can see there's different subcontractor roles, which gives them a little bit of limited ability depending on how you want to set that up. And I won't get too far into this, but you've got specific high-level areas they can control and access. Then you got down into specifically, RFIs they can go ahead and access, and then even down to different fields within an RFI. It's a lot of control there. Anything else, Anthony?
Yeah, another question. Can I change the dashboard to represent the data that I'm the most interested in?
Yep, dashboards are specific for the user. So we do populate it initially with a few different ones. I think these are the standard ones in here. But then you can start to customize that if you're more focused on the budget and cost piece, right, rather than the punch items. All right, so our next area is our drawings piece. So I'm not going to show that upload process today. I'm just going to show you that collaboration piece from once those documents are in the system. And this is the second layer of a record. So when I get into drawings or RFIs or potential change orders, I land on an area that I like to call the log screen, right? This allows you to control what you see within this view. I can do it in a tile view or in a list format. I can also filter on the right-hand side based on different criteria. Right, so as you can see, I'm filtered this one out, building I, current set, architectural, right? I've also sorted it by discipline and then filtered it by drawing number, or the other way around. And then I've saved that view, so I can always come back to that, right? So I have a number of views in here that I've saved. If I want to look at my civil drawings, I can click on those, and it will take me right to that specific view that I set up. And this is the same functionality throughout the product. So as you look at a list of RFIs, you can have different views for open RFIs, overdue RFIs, and so forth, just by a simple drop-down list. And we can download these drawings, so you'll see these buttons here. The print icon is our reports function. The download button allows you to download the as-built out of the filter that you chose. Now let's go into a specific drawing here. And what we're looking at here is A201. And up at the top, I can see that this is the third revision, and it is the current version. Right? I see in the middle here a lot of annotations on here. So I've linked a lot of different records for you guys to see as an example. You see these are punch items, these pin drops. This is an action item. These are RFIs. Here's an issue. So you can link any record within ProjectSight to a drawing. Right? You can do that here on the web. You can also do that through the iPad and the iPhone apps. Now I can annotate, right? I can draw. As you see, there's an arrow there. I can also cloud different areas like you see, make different shapes. And I can also just quickly, this is our quick link icon, and I can quickly drag and drop a pin drop for a punch item. You can also text, right? And change the colors, right? And then you can also take different measurements within the product or within the drawing after you calibrate that drawing. Now, one thing to point out here is these different callouts that you see. This is an A4.10 drawing that is hyperlinked to this A201, right? So in our processing of the documents, we'll link them together appropriately. And I can now access A410 from inside A201, right? It will open up into a new window. A couple of things on the top-hand side, right? I can filter and sort all of my annotations that you see here, make it more of a clean look of the drawing rather than having all of those annotations on there. And then, of course, you can filter down as needed to see the visibility in there. There's also the option to overlay different drawings together, whether that's a revision of a previous drawing or a totally different drawing, and it will overlay on top of each other, and then you can flip back and forth between the two to see the differences. All right, last thing here, let's take a look at these, some of these records and how we can interact with them at the drawing level. So if I want to look at this RFI here in the middle, and I want to see what that information is, I can click my little arrow and it will pull out my RFI form where I can see those details. And in this case, this is a closed RFI, right? I can see that with the green as well as the green here within the label. And that's it. I can visualize that and see the details as needed. If it's something that I need to make an update to, or I need to add information to, I can also do that here with a quick comment that I can attach to this record. Right? If I needed to, I could also open it up further and expand that out into that specific record. But the whole point I'm showing you this, and I'll get back to this whole workflow here in a second, is that I'm not taken off of the drawing when I'm going into a record. When I click done, as you'll see in a second, it will take me right back to the drawing. Now, last piece here to talk about is that model link. So here is a modeled link from Trimble Connect. It's a section of the model that I took that I wanted to make sure that the engineers and the architects had the visibility on that when they were trying to solve for this specific RFI issue. And so this will pass me directly over into Trimble Connect. It will land me on that section that I pinned. Now at this point, I can navigate myself out. Right? I can look at the metadata behind the scenes of the model. Trimble Connect is a pretty extensive tool. You can organize the data, you can segment out the structure, you can annotate upon the model using the annotation tools, and then you can do a little cost detection as well. And these views here that you see on the left-hand side, these are all pinned areas that I've pinned to the model, and any of these I can link directly back onto a record of ProjectSight so that really everybody has the data when they need it and where they need it. Okay, are there any questions that came in there, Anthony?
Yeah, absolutely. And just one quick thing I want to touch on, you mentioned earlier, Jimmy, is with Trimble Connect, didn't want to underscore the fact, guys, that it's not just a 3D marker and viewer and you can run your clash detection, but it works as a full document repository in place of things like SharePoint, OneDrive, Dropbox, etc. But we do have a couple of questions, Jimmy. What happens to previous versions after I upload a new one?
Oh, good question. Yeah, the current version is always visible, right, from that log view. If I want to go back to a previous version, then I can select a version over here. So we're going to deliver that current version all the time out to anybody accessing this drawing, but they can always go back to a previous version, and then any annotations carry down through those versions to the next version.
Great. And then another one, what if I have one PDF with multiple pages? Do I have to break them out before I upload them to the system?
Nope. It will break that full 100-page PDF or whatever out into individual sheets like you see here. So you can do that process in one upload process, right? Or on the flip side, you can also upload 100 single PDFs and we'll split those out as well. You can do that more in bulk. The system's going to read the title block for what the sheet number is, what the title is, and then what the revision date is based upon that drawing set.
Great. And then one of my favorites on Trimble Connect, can anyone access documents in Trimble Connect?
Yep. There's security controls around that, but you can anybody can you can send anybody to have access to these drawings. It really depends on how you want to structure that. And then, like Anthony said, these files can be synced with your desktop through Trimble Connect Sync, which allows for, and it can even be synced to a shared drive on a server, so that you can have one place to drop project-related documents in the system and then easily access them from your desktop.
Fantastic. Appreciate that, Jimmy. We'll give you a quick second to catch your breath here. So we're going to launch our first poll. And it is, do you currently use models in the field on your projects? Yes, no, or no, but I want to. And I just launched it. So I'm going to give you guys about 15 to 20 seconds to answer that. And then we'll move on to the rest of the demo. Get a lot of reaction on this post. I'll give it about another 10 seconds, guys. And great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. All right, Jimmy, back to you for control.
Yeah, and it looks like, you know, about half and half people either use the drawings or would want to. So just keep in mind that Trimble has Trimble Connect, which allows for that sharing, and it comes included with ProjectSight, so there's no extra cost. So if you're currently incurring some extra licenses for, you know, any kind of model viewer, and I won't name any names, but you could get that access with ProjectSight and Trimble Connect all in one. Our next area here is the document control piece. And because of the time factor, I'm going to focus on the RFIs and go through the workflow, right? But I want everybody to keep in mind that the workflow on assigning records, changing status, commenting, that occurs in every different record, right? Even on the budget and cost side. So that workflow I'll go over, and then we just want to keep in mind that translates throughout the product. So once you kind of understand how to create an RFI, it's very easy to create any other type of record in the system. Now I'm in my log here of RFIs, and I'm actually, my default is my open RFI log view, which shows me all the open ones. Now let's say I'm going to a meeting coming up here. I need to send this off in a report. I need to extract the data. I can use my print icon. We have over 400 different types of reports built into the system that to deliver you any number of ways you want to provide that information. You can email that report directly from the system. You can download it, or you can just view it. You can also add signatures when you need to do any kind of signature added to a, let's say, a potential change order approval or a subcontract change approval. But we'll put in your logo right at the project level, so all your reports will have the nice look and feel. And then if you needed anything specific for data on this report that you would want added, then our team could help you manipulate those reports, or if you have access to report writers, you can certainly update that information as well. And then import export, this allows you to import and export in and out of the system, right? The process in ProjectSight is you export out an Excel file which contains the format that we can digest that from. So a simple export out, changing and updating the data, whether that's just dragging and dropping one Excel data into another Excel data and then updating that allows you to quickly load in information. So let's take a look at a specific RFI here. So one click is going to give me that small pop-out. Double click or big square will send me into that record full screen. And now on the right-hand side, we still have our panel. That's our quick input area where we can define the status of this issue, right? And this is all customizable per record, per project, on how you want that workflow to go. These fields can be updated based on the nomenclature can be changed. The drop-downs can be updated as needed. But this is kind of your standard data that you would get if you sign up for ProjectSight tomorrow. This is the type of structure I've done. I haven't changed much of it in this demo site. The only thing I've really changed is the updates of the statuses. So now when I assign it to an individual, I simply just click add, or you can preset any new RFI or any new record to be auto-assigned directly to a specific role or an individual. And then of course you can courtesy copy people as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and assign this over to Mark here so I can show you the process here. All right. And on the left-hand side is our comments tab, and it allows for that communication back and forth. So as you can see, the question at the top from Tim, right? There's a drawing that was attached. There's an assignment that went out. Here's another, comment that's an answer, right? So you can track that communication piece, but you can also track any kind of impact. And if you need to track impact on cost or schedule, any other additional information. So these are user-generated fields that you can capture. And then, of course, on all of our records, we've got a history tab, which shows you all of the history of those specific records. And just to show you that I assigned that to Mark, this is the email Mark just got. And he can reply to this email with a comment or an attachment, and we're going to capture that at that comments level, or he can click on this link to log into ProjectSight. But we're going to deliver him that information on what this record is, what the question is for this RFI. There's a response, and then there's a most recent comment, all right, as well as any attached files. Okay. And I'll just type in a response, and I'll send that off. And here in a second, you'll see that pop up in our comments tab, showing that collaboration between inside and outside users who maybe don't want to log in, but you still want to capture that information. This really gives them a nice area. And there's my comment that came through, time-stamped, and I can actually promote that as an answer, right? And now I can save and close my record. And now it'll remove all those comments and just show me a clean RFI question and RFI response. Now, any attachments within a record are included under this attachment link here. It's going to break it down into files that are attached, records, or any kind of drawings or model files. So this is where those would live within that tool there. And then if I wanted to say, turn this RFI into a change order, then I can go ahead to my link area and I can tell it that I want to start a potential change order at this point. Right? Now, at that point, the RFI and the change order will be linked, and you can always get to one through looking at the other record. Okay, now once I click done and I close that, now Mark's going to get an email that has been closed. And then here it is. So that's now closed. So there's notifications that go out based upon what kind of status you want to send it out on, and then whether that user wants to get notifications or not. Okay, and then on the submittal side, I think we'll have time for that here before we get over to the budget. Similar workflow, right? I've got my list view here with the submittals. You can do a little bit more of the status, a little bit more back and forth when you're working with those. And just to get you visibility on this, right-hand side is going to track those dates, the type, the spec section, right, our statuses, and then you've got your document for review. I can actually go ahead and mark that up through our PDF markup tools here within ProjectSight. If I need to add a stamp, then I can go ahead and add a stamp to the image, sign it, print it, sign it, upload it, complete that submittal response. We also have tracking times that will allow you to see the visibility there, and then as well any additional information you want to capture. And of course, on the submittal side, there is an upload process, right? So you can upload in bulk that submittal list as needed. Last thing is just the meeting minutes. Pretty robust meeting minute tool here within ProjectSight. So I'll go to our owner contractor meeting. This is a initial meeting we created that we've templated, and now every meeting pretty much can use the same type of items. Oops, there's no items in here. Oh, they're there. So they're listed here. These are our meeting minutes. Here's our notes we can take upon each item we're talking about. And then if I needed to, I can also assign a specific item out to an individual, right? Or I can make any comments or additional notes at that item level. The individuals here that are attending, you can send them an invitation, which is going to be an email. And in that email, you can include this list of meeting items to be discussed. And you can also run any types of reports out of your meeting minute module to allow you to get that visibility if you need to send that off post-meeting. Okay, is there anything else, any questions come in on the document control side?
Yeah, we have one. How do I create my reports?
We use Crystal Reporting today, and those can be you have access to those, any of those reports, and if you need to make modifications, you can download those, use the Crystal reporting tool, make any changes, re-upload those. That's kind of phase one. Down the line here, we're building out a reporting tool inside ProjectSight to help a little bit more ease of use, a little bit more different technology on the reporting side. So we're in process with that new reporting module. All right. And then on the field side, safety, punch, notice it's a compliant field. These all work the same as RFIs. They're just a different designation of record. Just so you can see on the punch side, I can tag that like you saw before on a drawing, or I can also put in a location here as well. And then I can filter by location if I'm going to that specific room, or in this case, the skin of the building. Then I know that I can filter out all of those RFIs or all of those punch items related to that area. But it gives you different options here. On the iPad, you can quickly take a photo on the site and quickly submit that open punch item into the system. Checklist and dailies. Well, let's start with the dailies here. It allows you to capture that labor, equipment, weather data. And here's weather, labor, equipment. So you can attach your weather data to be pulled from a weather station. You can designate that in the settings area, and you can tell it what time you want it to pull, right? Or you can also do it manually, and then you can add some notes here if necessary. On the labor side, right, I can go into my list of companies, right? These are all built inside the project area, right? And I've got my crews set up in there, right? If I need to add new individuals, I can do that, right? I can add workers as needed, but I can capture that time that they were on site, the amount of work they did, any work description, any additional information. Now, if I have the same crew here yesterday that I have today, then I can just copy that labor information from a previous day. Okay, that's the labor side. You can also grant subcontractors access to complete the labor section of your dailies, right? So Jack here, I guess I'm Jack, he completed it for Irish Concrete, but the Irish Concrete guy, Mark Young, he could come in here and complete this for that daily report. That would come in as a pending, and then Jack would just approve it. Similarly, there's the equipment side, and then there's also a notes section that allows you to capture really anything else, right? You can see there's an attached checklist, there's some photos, there may be some notes on the day, all within that daily, and then of course, you have your report that you can run out of the system. Now, if I need to do a daily checklist as well, so I'm inside my daily, I want to go into my checklist module. I want to go ahead and create a new checklist, which will bring up all my checklists and my forms within the system. So you can build out any number of forms from administrative, commissioning, safety, deliveries, environmental. And then I can fill this out directly inside this daily, and it will attach to that daily. And now I can get to my COVID safety checklist, and I can go ahead and migrate my way through that as needed. We also have the ability to put in date boxes, drop downs, radio buttons, all sorts of types of fields. And then each of these fields, consider them a specific record, because I can actually assign out a specific item to an individual or make notes within that item level. So similar to the meeting minutes. There's also an approval process for that that you can implement so that those need to be approved before they are completed. So there's the daily report. Are there any questions on the field management side, Anthony?
Yeah, we have a couple. Just went over it a little bit, but how easy is it to create a new checklist?
Yeah, the checklist you can do it one by one through the system, right? But you could also download a import-export template that will provide you with that quick drag and drop functionality to build out your forms. Much easier to do it on an Excel doc, I think, than building it out individually, item by item in our system. So that's kind of the preferred way to do it.
Great. And then other one is in the field, what are the options to capture images?
Oh, yeah. Let me let me show you that. I want to make sure that um, that's available here. Yeah, within any record, and I might have skipped over this. When you're down here at the bottom and you're adding a comment, you've got your link icon, and that's how you upload a file. So since I'm on my web desktop, right, it's going to say upload a file. If I'm on the iPad, it's going to say camera roll or take photo, right? So you're going to have a couple different options there. And then you can quickly load in your photos onto that different record.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jimmy. All right, guys, we're going to give Jimmy another chance to catch his breath real quick and move on to our second poll, which I'm going to launch right now. And this one is, excuse me, which ERP/accounting solution does your PM solution integrate with? Sage, JD, Oracle, Viewpoint, or other? And I'll give you guys about 15, 20 seconds to answer that one. I'll give you guys about 10 more seconds. Great, fantastic. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all's involvement. On to you, Jimmy, for budget and cost.
Okay, last section here is budget and cost. So ProjectSight can help you manage your budget, your change orders, can help keep track of that information for your project team. So within ProjectSight, right, ideally the PMs, your project teams, they live in one system. They don't need to go out into an ERP to do with change management. Now with our budget and cost, everything starts with the high level budget. And there's really a couple of ways to build this out. You can add it line by line, right? You can import it in an import process, which is the most common way, or you can integrate through the APIs with an ERP, such as Viewpoint or JD Edwards or any number of them, right? And in that case, the data would be fed directly from those systems into ProjectSight. So we would match the specific budget code structure you're looking for. We can have up to 9 different categories of that. So as you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 categories for our demo site. Now, along the top here, we're looking at the high-level metrics on the budget, right? So we have our original budget, projected, cost, projected over under. You can also search the budget, which will narrow down the scope here as well. And then I can filter and group by, let's say, category, right? And so the gray is going to be that roll up. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to look at this budget screen. Today, we're going to look at this single line item here at the bottom. I'm going to zoom it in a little bit. Now, there's a lot of columns here, so I'm going to go over these just briefly, and then we'll dig into that change management piece. But we have here on our budget, we have our budget code, our status, we have our description, and our original budget. That's the minimal amount we need to start working with that budget code. Now, the next column is our approved revisions. Now, the approved revisions are just would be a approved prime contract change order, right? So that value plus your budget gives you the new budget of $825. Similarly, you have change orders that are in a pending state or in an approximate state on the budget side. And these are calculated along with that current budget to give you your projected budget going on, right? Similarly, you have your contract piece where you have your schedule of values for this contract at 801. You have 46,000 in subcontracts change orders that are approved, right? We don't have any non-committed changes, which gives us our total committed cost now at 847. Then we also have 2 statuses of change orders pending and approximate on the cost side, where those would equal, along with that total committed cost, your projected cost. Right? And this is all produced inside ProjectSight as you're going through your change management. Further down, we've got other areas to capture actual costs, right? So you're capturing your invoices, your contract invoices, your expenses, and then you can start to look at other columns within here, right? So a couple other columns are going to be here that you can add to your grid to look at and get some visibility in as needed. Pretty much have them all on here, but there's certainly other ones. And then if you needed to have columns added, you can add columns as needed for any kind of data that you want to capture at that level. Now going into a budget code, this is a hyperlink. I can now see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. I can now see what made up that single roll-up that we saw. So that roll-up that we're looking at is this gray line. And what are the transactions that occurred inside that budget code? We have original budget, we've got a transfer, we've got our contract that hits our commitment side. Then we have our change orders. The change orders in ProjectSight can either be across one of just the budget, right, or just the cost, or across both budget and cost. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But here's my list of change orders, and then I have contract invoices I'm tracking, as well as purchase orders. And all of these are hyperlinks, so I can go into my contract to look at those scheduled values for this. Right, I can see this is a subcontract, different types of amounts in here that I can bill against, as well as look at the last invoiced amount, the balanced amount, retainage. And then I also have a change order tab inside the contract that's going to show me all those approved subcontract change orders, as well as there's one pending and one approximate subcontract change order in the system. The last piece here, we'll go back to our navigational tiles here. Now we have our change management. So everything starts in our system as a potential change order, or a PCO. Right, that's where I track that. That's your RFQ. That's how you communicate around that issue. Once I needed approval, I can send it off for approval, right? Or I can group it together with multiple different PCOs in a change order request. This is an optional piece here. Once I get that approval, then I can then make that prime contract change or that subcontract change, depending on which way to go there. So let me show you just a quick example, and then I think we're almost up on time here. So here's my change. It's a contingency change. It's assigned to a couple of people. Now we have our list of items. There's only a single item in here, but you can have multiple different items. And now you can see, now I've assigned this out to Mark, right? I've included my budget piece. I've estimated the cost piece. Mark's proposed, and I'll just update that because that's a ridiculous proposal from Mark. What he proposed, right, what around we budgeted for. Mark can either do that like you saw through an email response, right, with his attached, a proposal, or Mark can access this and he can go in here and attach his proposal, right? And you can limit Mark's access to the visibility on this grid. He could just have access to the proposed amount, so he could add his bid as an attachment, then he could fill out the proposed amount, or you could have Jack do that since he's managing this change. And so on the budget side, I can attach it to a budget code if I need that, or I can attach it to a contract if necessary, right? So I can do either one of those or both of those at the same time. Once I get that bid and proposal from Mark, everything looks good, then I can go ahead and send that off for approval through a report with a signature, get that change approved, and then now at that point, I can go and update my subcontract or a prime contract change. And in this case, I can pull different items from different change orders together to give, to group in the subcontract. So in this case, it's from the same PCO, but I can pull multiple different items in here. If they are associated with a specific contract, then I can do that and go ahead and get that signed off. And that's when those dollars will shift from column to column within that budget screen. And at that point, if you are integrated with an ERP through the APIs, through some kind of connection, then that approval Right? Once that change is marked as approval, or that subcontract change order is approved, it will then now send that data back into the ERP and get that system updated as well. So there's that back and forth flow that can happen. And then on the invoice side, you can track contract invoices against those contracts expenses, and then you can also run an applications for payment or pay apps to get paid from the owner. Went a little bit over time, Anthony, but you know, lots to talk about with ProjectSight, and the budget and cost piece could be, you know, just an hour and a half just in itself, because it can do a lot and covers a lot of ground and is very successful with our clients.
No worries, Jimmy. We have a couple additional minutes just to tackle some questions. First one on budget and cost. In a budget view, is it possible to shift columns as needed, or are the columns pinned or locked in location?
Yep, you can move them around, just drag and drop within that grid. Drag them around as needed.
Great, fantastic. And then I'll help you tackle some of these other questions so we can make sure we get everybody out on time. So in other systems, callouts are linked. Is this the same in ProjectSight?
Yeah, those callouts was the little circle that I showed on the drawing. So that I think I showed a little bit of that. But yep, the callouts are linked. Assuming that drawing exists in the system, right? So if it doesn't exist, it's not going to link. But yeah, it will link those up automatically.
Great. And then can photos be attached to the specific inspection record?
Can folders?
Can photos be attached to specific records?
Yep, correct. So if you're doing a safety inspection, you need to, you know, take a photo at that specific item level. You can attach a photo as needed. Yep.
Great. And then I can tackle this next one. How much of the setup is right out of the box? So ProjectSight is a great platform. It's ready to go on day one, and it's highly configurable. So as Jimmy just mentioned with the last question on budget and cost, the columns, rows, nomenclature, etc., it's configurable, and it's ready to go for you right out of the box. Follow-up question to that from someone else is, how long will there be for implementation for ProjectSight? And this one, it really depends on the clients. As was just mentioned, ProjectSight, it's ready to go out the box day one. It's highly configurable, and you can, like I said, change rows, columns, naming conventions, etc. And it's really easy for your teams to assimilate into your current workflows, etc. Now, that being said, there are some other clients that want to take an opportunity to review their current SOPs, their workflows, maybe reevaluate some best practices, or maybe they don't have the internal bandwidth to implement ProjectSight. So they will utilize our professional services team to help them implement ProjectSight. And that is pretty much it for the questions. If there are any other questions, feel free to shoot them on over our team. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up as well. So thank you, Jimmy, for walking us through ProjectSight. Obviously, guys, this was ProjectSight at the 30,000-foot view. If you or your teams are interested in getting a deeper dive into ProjectSight, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll work with your teams to walk you through in a timely manner and walk you through all of the different modules. Just some final house clean. An email will be sent tomorrow with the recording for you. And I hope that you enjoyed the webinar and learning more about another top tier PM solution in the marketplace. And before you leave, we'd really appreciate it if you complete our survey. So again, thank you very much, Jimmy, and thanking everyone else for joining in and participating throughout the webinar. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.